happiness comes from the mind. When we are poor, we may think, if I have as much money as I want, live in a mansion, drive luxury cars, wear designer clothes and watches, I will be the happiest person in the world. However, if one day we really become rich, with abundant possessions and everything that we could ever want, will we really be as happy as we imagined? Perhaps in the first year or two we will feel great, thinking highly of ourselves and feeling happy. But this happiness will not continue to rise. Instead, it will decline. After a while, the feeling of happiness will slowly fade away. 2 or 3 years later, this sense of satisfaction will disappear and lots of unexpected suffering will arise. When we see our neighbours with more luxurious mansions and cars, the mansions and cars that once brought us happiness become a source of suffering. At that point, we can only continue to pursue more. If we actually get those things, after another year or two, we will feel unsatisfied again. People who are easily bored and have insatiable desires will never find true happiness. When they reach the end of their lives, they will leave the world with complaints and discontent. This is the mentality of ordinary beings. As we can see, isn't this the situation of the developed countries in the West? Although their income has tripled over half a century, their happiness index hasn't grown proportionately. Instead, it has even dropped. Why aren't they happy? Because happiness doesn't come from external factors, but rather come from the mind. We mistakenly believe that all suffering and happiness are brought by external things, so we desperately pursue power, wealth, and beauty, constantly seeking outwardly. However, wealth and fame don't fall from the sky. In order to gain money and fame, humans dedicate their entire lives to work. They harm the environment, deplete resources, engage in deceit and manipulation, but haven't realized that happiness and suffering come from the mind. We pursue happiness in the wrong way, and therefore we cannot attain happiness. If we can't attain happiness in this way, why are we toiling in vain? Recently, an American professor wrote a famous book called Happiness, a History. He spent 6 years referencing a large amount of historical data to research what happiness is and what can truly bring us happiness. In the end, he came to a conclusion and wrote in the last line of the book, "Just like the mythical Holy Grail that held the blood of Christ, ultimate happiness may only exist in our imagination." How pathetic! Despite regarding happiness as something sacred and pursuing it as the driving force of social development, we cannot attain true happiness. It's not because there is no happiness in the world. Instead, it's because our methods of pursuing happiness are wrong. Ordinary people often have high expectations of the world. They believe that as long as they pursue and strive, they will attain happiness. If they fail to achieve their goals, they will become very disappointed. When their disappointment becomes unbearable, they may experience a mental breakdown or even choose to commit suicide. People live in an unhappy and exhausting way because they don't understand the true nature of the world. In fact, it's not easy to be born as a human. Originally, we could have lived happily, freely and meaningfully in this world. However, due to our wrong views, we have missed all the opportunities and even gone astray. This is our greatest failure.
In today's society, many people experience great suffering. I think our parents' generation lived slightly happier lives than we do. However, due to their children's current situation,
on one hand, there are many professionals with high incomes. Due to the wealth disparity, they work tirelessly. Many people suddenly fall ill or engage in extramarital affairs because they have become rich. On the other hand, there are many people who have no money or very low wages, living paycheck to paycheck. Moreover, there are many individuals who rely on their parents to make ends meet, barely managing to survive. Nowadays, many young people don't work and instead indulge in the online world. In fact, many of us don't understand the current situation of society. If you do understand, you would realize that the situation is terrible. The unemployment rate among young people is very high. Many people rely on the support from their parents or friends, or resort to illegal activities such as theft, robbery, and fraud to survive, without any money of their own. This is the current situation, a result of our own karma. If you choose to engage in spiritual practice, you can also swiftly accumulate merits. The reason why we lack merits is because we are too selfish and don't make any contribution. If you come into this world without making any contribution to humanity, you are like a parasite. You eat, consume, and enjoy every day, depleting resources without accomplishing anything. Nowadays, there are too many forms of entertainment. In the past, the ways of entertainment were limited, such as going out for leisure. But nowadays, people can indulge day and night in computers and various games. Consequently, they become more and more addicted, unable to break free. This is the situation of many young people. In terms of parenting, foreigners have a different approach. Our children are spoiled, which is a common phenomenon. Parents don't know how to properly guide their children and end up spoiling them. The future is alarming because children are spoiled and lack a sense of responsibility. Few people are outstanding, while most people cannot contribute much. In my opinion, many people are useless because they have been spoiled by their parents and grandparents since childhood. When they grow up, they will not work and instead live on their parents' inheritance. After they have exhausted their inheritance, they may resort to illegal activities, become poor, or even commit suicide. Most of such people end up engaging in illegal activities or committing suicide. This is because they have exhausted their merits and the wealth left by their parents, so they have no other choice. In the future, the suicide rate will be very high. In the end, such people have no other choice. That's why there are many people committing suicide every day. When their merits are exhausted, they don't want to live. Or they may engage in illegal activities that would send them to prison. When they can't make a living, they would rather stay in prison. Some people don't want to die, so they seek to get imprisoned because at least they can have something to eat there. In this world, there are many such decadent people. Parents also worry about them because they have spoiled them since childhood. However, there is nothing that they can do. Once a child reaches the age of 15, it's difficult to change them. Sooner or later, tragedy will happen. No one keeps track of or reports such matters. Tragedies are happening every day, and many people live aimlessly. Some people have a little merit and live on their parents' pension or wages. In this society, as long as one has something to eat, they can live. Many people just live like this. So, this is a very decadent world, not as what we imagine. Moreover, some people are working tirelessly day and night. Nowadays, jobs tend to exploit people's efforts. People either work very hard or struggle to find a job. It's a polarization. Those who can embark on the spiritual path are really fortunate. This is really the path of light, and only through this path can we attain liberation. It's a very rare opportunity.